Someone made a good point to me. I went through a mentorship and they said people have three things. This is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
This is the secret sauce.
So
three things: they have family, they have work, and they have one other thing. If you can become that one other thing, that's a huge deal. Hi everyone, my name is Antonio Diaz-Canis. Welcome to the Blk Ops Podcast. It's our first ever podcast, so this is a huge deal for us. I'm pleased to introduce Jane Erbacher. Just flew in from LA on Wednesday, I believe, and came from Australia. So she's been here with the past couple days, and I'm excited to introduce you to her. So Jane.
Hi.
Hi.
I love when Americans say my surname. It sounds so much better. You say Jane Erbacher, and I'm just like Jane Erbacher.
Yeah, you got to throw a little flair on there.
Really
you know
Aussie,
what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I always try to say people's names correctly, you know?
Yes,
or I'm like, did I get that right? So,
yeah, you did.
would you like to explain, more about your story, and how after that we'll go into like how we met and how we made this happen?
Yes, definitely. I think the first thing I need to say is I don't usually wear ski coats, and I have been laughing about this for a good 30 minutes now, that I'm in the warmest piece of clothing I could find in the world, because...
Just flew in. Just came in via FedEx 2 minutes before we started.
Exactly. This is actually like the depths of winter right now. It's like a really nice day here in Delaware, but it's the coldest it gets where I'm from. So someone did say to me last year that Australia does not have winters, and I was like, we do have winter. We have like 3 months where I have to wear a jacket every single day, and now I'm like,
what's
Australia
the
does not have winter. Well, we speak in Celsius.
Yeah,
so
I don't understand that. So
I think the
I'm not there
coldest
yet.
we have is like, you'd probably say like 36.
Okay.
33, 36, and that's like, whoa, like what's happened to Australia?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in other parts of Australia it's colder, but that is very Australian as well to talk about the weather all the time. We think that that's the most interesting
That's how you say
thing.
hello to people.
Yeah, totally. But for me, big story. I'm 34 now, so I have many years to tell you about, but I think that I won't tell you everything.
Right. We'll just skim over the surface today.
A few of them.
Both of us are long-winded, I guess we could say.
Yeah,
so
we talk a lot.
Be interesting.
So but basically, the way that I've turned out turned up here in Delaware is a pretty cool story, because I ran this crazy idea of a competition in October, and I called it Ski-tober, and I actually came up with the name Ski-tober before I came up with what the actual concept was. And I was like, okay, people are going to ski in October. Obviously it's Ski-tober. And my boyfriend Jake wanted to call it Skoktober, and I was like,
what's
can't
that
call
all
it
about?
Skoktober. Anyway, so we did this worldwide ski competition.
Her boyfriend's English, by the way. She's Australian, he's English.
Yes,
just
he's
to clarify.
English. Yep, he has like a BBC accent.
Yeah.
So I tell people something, and then he tells them the exact same thing, and they suddenly listen to him. And I'm like, excuse me.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, we ran this crazy event, and you guys signed up for it. And I remember the girls from your gym were winning every event.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is this Blk Ops? And so I started researching you, and I was like, that looks like such a cool place.
Well, thank you.
And we became friends from there. But this whole random world that I'm a part of right now began for me 3 years ago when I sold my gym. So I owned a gym in Melbourne. And
how long did you operate that?
3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was...
That's how long we've been in business, 3 years.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
and it was really interesting, because at about the 2-year mark, I really realized that I opened a gym because for my whole life I knew that I wanted to help people, and I realized that the way that I could do that best was in fitness. And I was so passionate about it, and I absolutely loved it. And at about the 2-year mark, I realized that my business partner and I were going in completely opposite directions. And you can't run a business with somebody when you're going that way and they're going that way. And so for about a year, I kind of struggled through thinking that, what else am I going to do with my life? This is what I've invested everything I have and every part of me into. I don't know anything else.
Right.
And at the same time I started running the gym, I actually got accepted into law school. So I was studying law part-time and running this gym.
I figured she was smart. She had good pronunciation.
Yeah. Two very different worlds I was trying to juggle, and got to the point where I'd put on about 30 pounds and felt really unhealthy, and really knew that my body was reflecting how bad I was feeling inside.
Or taking care of yourself.
Yeah, so I sold my share of the gym, and within 3 weeks I was out of there, and the day that I left, I got on an airplane to America, because America's my favorite place in the world. I love it here. Went to Utah, did some Jim Jones.
Nice.
Spent a month traveling around as a 30-year-old, questioning what the hell I was going to do with my life, because I'd realized that everything I was doing was not where I was going.
Right.
Came home and started a podcast.
Really?
So this is a nice little full
crazy.
circle moment.
Yeah. And I didn't know that, by the way.
Yeah.
So you sold your gym, you started a podcast, and you were really starting to look inside, or you started law school as well.
Yep.
And so you're super busy and in this new venture, and you started really taking a harder look at how you were taking care of yourself.
Yep, and what I really decided to do with the whole reason I started a podcast was because I wanted to speak to people who were successful or love their life and find out their recipe for success, basically. Because I was at a point where I was like, okay, I don't feel happy, and I thought that I was, and I'm not, so let's find people who actually are and find out how and why. Yeah, so I actually spent a year pretty much traveling around the world and interviewing all these people that I could find that just had a life that I thought that looked amazing.
Yeah.
And I just kind of started to realize that everybody did the same kind of stuff, like in that it's like...
It's just structure and steps.
Yeah, and just the biggest thing I learned was they take care of their health, they surround themselves with amazing people, and they follow their passion.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it seems like such basic, easy things to do, but it really does all amount to the life that you actually do want.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I did for a year, and it was really hilarious because I invested a lot of money in that year, in that I didn't make any money at all, and I spent a lot of money, did lots and lots of courses. I basically just decided I needed to learn everything and start from absolute scratch. I did that for about a year, and then after a year I had people keep on calling me and writing to me and saying, hey, do you think you could help me on the rower? I need some help with rowing. And I was like, why do people keep asking me about rowing? And then I thought, well, it's probably about time that I start earning some money. So I thought to myself, that's it, I'm going to run a rowing workshop. And so I remember I just posted about it on Facebook, and I just made people pay like $20 to come, and I ran this rowing workshop. And I had about 40 people show up to that very first one. And I remember I just like rambled through it. I had no system for anything. I was just like, okay, this seems to be the way to,
a large
do it
information
right.
dump on them.
Yeah, exactly. And all these people walked away and they were like, oh my God, I'm so excited to use the rower. And I thought, maybe this is something.
There's something there.
Yeah, I went home and I was like, Project Row. That like rolls off.
It's actually a cool name. So it's not bad.
Project
just
Row.
for the first thought to come to you, it's a good name.
Exactly. And so I then spent a really great portion of the year refining my skills as a coach. So getting really, really good at the actual fundamentals of rowing. I went and trained with Olympic lifting coaches. I went and trained with rowers and biomechanists, and I really refined the program. And after that year, I actually ran a seminar where my now boyfriend Jake came, and he's like a systems coach, so he creates systems for businesses. And so I remember he sat down with me and he was like, what systems do you have for your business? And I was like, I don't like systems.
No,
I am a creative. I don't do anything
Fly by the
with
hip.
this system.
Military, they call that shooting from the hip. Like you have the Rambo gun and you're just shooting.
Exactly, and I'm all instinct. And I'm like, anyway, he actually really, really helped clean up the back end of the business. And from that interaction with him, I just started to write to everybody I knew that owned a gym all around the world. And I said, I'm doing this thing, it's called Project Row. Can I bring it to your gym? Yeah. And fast forward about 18 months and here I am in Delaware. I've run over 150, maybe even 160 different seminars in gyms.
Wow, all around.
Yeah.
So where have you traveled so far? I mean, I know you've traveled all over, but what has like been your core, like England, Ireland?
Yeah. Well, amazingly, I've run more seminars in the US than Australia. And I actually...
Should we speak on that or we just let that roll?
Yeah, well, I think that it's very interesting because culturally, America is very different to Australia. And we were talking about this briefly before. But in Australia, you're very safe.
Right.
You're very, very safe. There's a big safety net for you. And so drive isn't inbuilt for you because there is always somebody to pick you up if you fall down. And I think
which is actually an interesting topic today with young people, that we're kind of looking at that from an angle and not, it doesn't, there's exemptions and it's not every young person, but it's something I would like to speak about in the future as well.
Yeah.
My military background. So it's very interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah, well, I really find that with what I do, a lot of people don't think that they need to get better at what I teach.
Right.
They think that...
It's ego.
Yeah, totally. And so in the fitness
industry... Which is
industry,
bizarre
I know.
for a coach. And
yeah, it's crazy, but the amount of gyms that I've gone to in Melbourne and or even Australia and asked if they want to be a part of what I'm doing.
Right.
And then they're like, nah, like we think that we're pretty cool with that.
Right.
But it's hilarious because I've coached Tia Claire Toomey, who's won the CrossFit Games
she's
twice.
awesome.
That's who I work with, and also the other guy who's the best CrossFit fitter in Australia, James Newbury. And it's
No
like,
big deal.
I'm like, well, if the best in Australia are happy.
And we didn't even
so
tell our members that when we hosted you.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to give them that yet and be like, she has also trained Tia Claire Toomey, who, you know, is a pretty big deal, and she's teaching you right now the same thing. So,
yeah, exactly.
you know,
So-
try to win them over first, which is the way we do things, and then.
Yep, exactly. And that's what I like as well. It's like, I think that I get more excited teaching somebody's mum. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly do, because for me, the rower and ski have nothing to do with the rower and ski.
Sure.
I genuinely just want to show someone what
Purpose
they're capable
behind
of.
it, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what connected us so much. And I also wanted to share a saying that my mom always said to me that's like so true. And it's, you know, you're never a prophet in your own town.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know, and I was trying to think about it and kind of figure out why that is. And then so you kind of give the hometown a pass because they've seen you grow up and
Yeah.
stuff. And so maybe that's an element of it.
Yeah.
But, you know, as a new business owner, as an entrepreneur, it's very difficult for you to just ignore that and run anyway and go forward, because that has great power,
Yeah.
you know, so that your home country hasn't supported you as much as, you know, America has, and you've come here, and, you know, hopefully that can change in the future.
And it's crazy. Like, to me, it's always such a mystery. I'm like, how can I do things better in Australia? And now I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, the thing with Australia is we like to sit by and watch and see if something's a success before we take a risk on it. And so I can feel that where I am, and it's like, there's no point in me pushing it. If it's working elsewhere, then I'm just going to go there.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it means...
Yeah, I mean, and that's the same thing with me with running a small business. I think 2019 is the year that I stopped worrying about who's accepting me, about who I have to answer to, and or whose expectations I have to live up to. If it's working, go with it.
Totally.
You know, go with it. It doesn't mean you're disrespecting this.
Yeah.
But you just got to go
failing
forward.
elsewhere. It just means that you're following what's working.
You got to follow.
You got to
follow what wants you. You know?
Exactly.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah,
Cool.
but in terms of where I've had an amazing time, especially in the last year. I've been all across Europe. I ran seminars in Switzerland this last year, and that was hilarious because most people in Europe speak multiple languages, and there were a couple of people in the gym that couldn't understand my accent. And so it wasn't that they couldn't speak English, but they couldn't understand my accent. And so I had somebody translating there, and it was really funny
the
because
exchange of that.
Yeah, at one stage we had like half the room doing one thing and half the room doing the other thing, and I realized that things were getting lost in translation. And so I was teaching like legs only something, legs only, I'm like barking out, and the guy was translating it to arms only. So I was looking around the room and I was like in hysterics because I was
coach's nightmare.
How many other things have like missed? Yeah. So that was hilarious.
And you just taught us today, and it was hard to pick up today as an experienced coach. So I can only imagine with like a language barrier.
I know.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's been an amazing journey. Like all over Europe, America. I went to Singapore. Like it's
awesome.
Really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a pretty awesome story, pretty awesome background. I wanted to speak a little bit about how we actually met each other, because this is the first time we've ever done this. We've been a host gym for someone that we call a celebrity in the field, you know, and you carry yourself so humbly. I think that's what initially drawn us towards each other, and the energy we kind of feed off of each other. So, you know, I wanted to talk about how we actually met for the people that are watching. We use Instagram and social media as kind of a way of showing what we do in our gym. It's only, you know, what we do in our gym is great, and we say, but you have 12 people classes, you have 80, 100 members, and if you have an awesome message, you want to carry that message to way more people. I mean, that's why we got into this in the first place, because it wasn't about the money. I'm sure Jane can tell you that as well, especially with a law background, you know.
Yeah.
And I've seen that, and so it's a very passion-driven occupation, I guess you could say, more like a mission. Because I don't really feel like it's a job as much as it is a duty. And I think you probably share that vision as well.
Definitely.
So we were on Instagram, and I had these Concept 2 machines. I had a ski erg, and I didn't know how to use it. The only place I had actually seen video on it was the Jim Jones gym, which I've now learned that you were actually in the background in some of those videos.
Yeah.
And I saw these crazy guys, you know, going hardcore on this machine, pulling with all their might. And I know as a fitness guy, when something looks like it's effective, and I was like, okay, that's a full body workout. That's got to be valuable to the fitness world. And so that was my first introduction with it. And of course, I'm a very fast decision maker. So I bought some ski ergs with that very little experience on them. And And then I began my journey of how to learn how to use the machine so that I could teach my members and to teach my people, because coaching is what I do, and if I can't be coaching something wrong, right? I'm always trying to get better and better myself as a coach, and that means you never are the smart one in the room, right? If the second you're the smart one in the room, you need to change that situation so that you can learn more, because there's always people out there much better than you at things in life, and that's a great thing. And so I did an instructional video on the ski erg, taking tidbits of stuff I had seen on online, and you liked one of my posts. And that sounds cheesy because one like, right? But that one like is what created today. And so that's a whole nother message altogether, that we're gonna share with you. But it was the catalyst for this. And I showed somehow I knew of you before as kind of like an expert, or you had done ski videos before, but I didn't like really dive into that info. And so I showed my coach Brittany and my wife, and I said, I just did a ski instruction video, and the person who does those online liked it. And so I'm like, maybe we're on the right path. It's not about arrogance. It's not about social media, becoming an influencer. It's more about using it as a tool to kind of connect you to people you would have no chance of being connected to. And as a small business owner, I can't imagine in the old days when you didn't have this. You had to rely on newspapers, and so it's a blessing, it's a gift, and it is done incorrectly. And so a big part of people like us is to try to be at the forefront, even in our small communities. Like maybe I have 200 followers. If 50 of those people are watching, that is an audience, that is a community, and that's someone I can impact, exactly. And then from there, I believe where did it go from there? I think I showed my coach Brittany your videos, and she started diving into your info, and then you hosted the Ski-tober competition, and Brittany's like, can we do Ski-tober? And I was like, I don't know what the hell that is. And I was like, well, we'll try. And then from there, I believe we did some DMs. I don't know how that started. And I was like, wow. And then just like the relationship grew just from DMs, but nothing crazy, guys. Just like, two business owners kind of talking back and forth. And that was the first time that anyone had reached out to us. So I was very honored by that, and I thank you for that.
That's okay.
And maybe you could talk about what how you felt on your side, or how
it's so funny when people are talking. I'm obviously listening, but I'm thinking the key areas that I'm going to respond to. So I think the first thing I have to respond to is when you said that fitness is a mission and it's like a duty, and I could not agree more. Like, I think that so many people walk into a gym thinking that they want to drop a little bit of weight, or they want to feel better about their body, or they want to be stronger, or be fitter, or run in a marathon. And I think that what people don't expect is their entire life to change when they walk into a fitness community like this, and it actually does. And I cannot believe more wholly in the fact that that's because of connection and engagement that you feel in a space like this, rather than the lifting of the weights or the doing of the things.
And you learn that over time through your community.
And just respecting your body and your health in that way, and being around people who also want more for themselves, is what changes your life. And so I completely agree with you that fitness is a mission. I completely agree with you that coaching is like a duty. And I take it really, really seriously. Second thing I want to respond to is the celebrity status, which is hilarious, because if I called my dad right now, my sister and I both sound exactly the same.
We started it today, you're now a celebrity.
Not at all. And Dad would be like, which one are you? And I'm like, Jane. Oh, yeah.
I'm the youngest of six, so my mom went through the whole line of our family's names before she got to mine. She's mad at me. She called me all my brother's names first. What the hell is your name?
That is just so
I'm like, you'll get around to it.
So it's hilarious. So definitely do not think of myself as a celebrity at all. Then I want to talk about social media. And what I absolutely love that you touched on is how much you can create incredible connection across the other side of the world through social media. And one of the most common things that people say to me is, oh, I hate Instagram.
Right.
And I understand why you're going to hate it, because
I understand it as well.
There's so much fabricated fakeness. But what I see in that is in that poison, exactly, to be different to that, to be real.
And almost again, a duty. I talked to someone who I was working with, and I said, you would be so awesome for females. She was a mother, and she was so hardworking, and she had children, and she had it all together. And she was a fitness girl, and she worked out at 5 a.m. I'm like, you have so much value you can give to people, and she took it as, but I don't want to be arrogant. And I'm like, people are taking in the information anyway from the wrong sources.
They actually
Why are you letting them teach people how to live their lives?
Completely.
That is the opposite of what we want to do.
Exactly. And I see social media absolutely as an extension of my real life.
Sure.
So in real life, it's all about connection and engagement, meeting the right people, surrounding myself with the right people, doing better myself. And that's how I use Instagram.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I reached out to you, I still remember the video, and I was definitely like, this guy's great, who is he? And I started like doing some research into this because I was like, this is great, his actual method and message is fantastic. And they're the kinds of people that I want to be surrounded with. Whether you're in Delaware and I'm in, I live 3 hours south of Melbourne, southwest of Melbourne.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. Like we're as close as anything because our core values and intentions.
And then we meet.
Same.
You had that. See, and that's my thing too. Like I always tell people, like when I meet someone, I know who they are.
Yeah.
You know, from my life experience.
Yeah.
So that's why fakeness never works.
Yeah.
Because I know who. You know, it's like a car salesman. You're like, dude.
Yeah.
Go home, your kid's a little bit different, you know, and sorry to all the car salesmen. But, you know, like, don't be a fast talker. Don't be selling something with your hand in my pocket already, because I've been around the world,
totally.
all right? And you recognize that trait in other people.
Yeah.
And so for you to show, and that's why I was so honored, because I was like, she gets it. She's the first person that saw something in us.
Yeah.
And I know we have it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not about arrogance. It's about what we can do. We have so much we can do.
Totally.
And it takes stuff like this where people like us get together, and you gave us a chance, and then we meet, and it's exactly what you thought the first second you saw that.
Yeah, and it's the best. And it was so funny because I remember when I really wanted you to be part of the World Cup, and I called you up and we chatted on the phone for an hour the very first time. I know, it's hilarious. And we chatted on the phone for like an hour, and I remember I got off the phone and I called Jake and I was like, he's so awesome, and I like just relayed everything that we just had the conversation about. And then we had this exchange in comments on Instagram, and it was so funny because you wrote something like, isn't it amazing how excited I feel right now about my day? And we get to do that every day. Like every interaction we have with people, we actually
can brighten their day up.
We actually can. And I remember I rang Jake, and Jake goes to me, you've got all these like great men like around the world that are just so nice, and you're stuck with me. Yeah. And I was like, I am.
Sorry, Jake.
Sorry, Jake. Yeah. But it was that actual, you put it in like so succinctly, which I think for both of us is one of life's greatest struggles, is to be concise. And you managed to do it in one line. You were like, you know, we actually have this opportunity every day to make somebody's day better. Yeah. Like, and isn't that so cool? And that I think is the core of why we connect, because we're genuinely, that's what we want to do.
We sense it. It's like a wave, almost like you're in the front and everyone tries to pull you back from that, and then you can get into yourself and be like, oh, you know what, they're right. Yeah. You know, or all my self-doubt.
Or why am I even trying?
Why am I even trying? This person didn't pick it up that fast this day, and this person, and you know, one negative person can take the whole energy out of the room. And so my biggest challenge as a business owner is I take things way too personally. Yeah. For a good reason. Yeah. You know, because I care so much about everyone. Yeah. You know, and that's a power, but I have to learn how to control that, because I can't let one bad egg ruin all the good that I'm doing with other people. And it's not that I'm doing, it's that they're telling me they're feeling. Completely. And so I'm like, just let, you know, you have to protect that. You have to protect that, and we have to keep going forward, because I think that's our driving force, is that we know what we're doing is working. Yeah. And so it can't just be in a 2,000 square foot building. No. Do you know? Yeah, it's completely true. And it's really interesting because I made the decision to move into the fitness industry after I had an experience with somebody. So my oldest brother died when I was a teenager. Oh, wow. And I remember I went to the gym the next day and everyone was like, why are you going to the gym? Like, shouldn't you just be like at home? And I'm like, no, I need to take my mind off everything. Sure. And I still remember I was doing a body pump class. And if you guys don't know what body pump is, it's kind of like Mickey Mouse Fitness now. And I still remember the instructor just like really got something out of me that day. And I walked out and I was like, I've always wanted to change the world. Like, since I was a little kid, I'm the youngest kid. It's like you can make all the jokes about it in the world. But I was like, this is how I'm going to do it. Like, she had no idea what was happening in my life that day. Right. She had no idea. I was probably not giving her any positive energy whatsoever. I was probably a complete leech on her energy. And I walked out and I was like, I feel better. Yeah. Like, I feel so much better today. And it was probably one of the worst I've ever felt in my life. And then I felt amazing. And I thought, I actually can do this for other people. Absolutely. Like, I can give them the best hour of their day, and who knows what they can walk out of there feeling like they're capable of. Sure, and so even if there's one person that comes in here and they have a negative experience, it doesn't change the positive experience of the other 99. Correct, right. And that's kind of what I have to keep reminding myself as well. Yeah. In fact, when I got, how I kind of found my way into fitness, I was a drill instructor in the Marine Corps, and it was my first platoon, and when you start as a drill instructor, you're the disciplinarian because you don't really know what you're doing yet, and you got to make sure you act like you know what you're doing.
Yep.
I don't want to tell too much, but so you're the bad guy. You're the guy that's the worst, the most evil, sadistic one to instill discipline in the entire platoon. And these are 90 kids from all across the country, and day one you have to represent that power. Yeah. Like you can't slip up. But anyway, so it was basically me over 3 months just trashing these kids. Yeah. But at the end of it, some of the feedback they gave me, they drew me a poster, and part of my job as well was to get them all in shape, and it was something I got good at. And the way I did it was a secret Marine Corps way, but there was sometimes you make them exercise in a very fast manner, and it just sucks the pounds off them, And I didn't have any draw to that. It was just my mission was to make the fat kids not fat. Yeah. And so at the end, they drew me a poster, and on it was like me with a whistle, signifying fitness. And I was like, that's interesting that they took that from that. I've never really had that draw before. I mean, I played sports in high school, and I loved soccer and everything, but that's about it. And I never had any higher level coaching or anything like that. So that was the beginning of the first time someone kind of put that thought in my head, and I obviously didn't move on that until a lot later. But so that was the initial thing, and then over time I just kept pursuing education in fitness. I started CrossFit, and I tried to get as good as I could at CrossFit. So I started traveling across the East Coast and going to different seminars. And just really pursuing education. There's a funny story that no one knows what I did. I mean, I was using credit cards for seminars, whatever I could to get this info. And I was driving up north, I don't even remember where because I've done so many things, and I literally had no money. And so I went to the course, it was on weightlifting, I think it was the second day, and some of these times I would have no food. And I drove back home, and I'm driving through the mountains, and I ran out of gas. And I had no money. I mean, not even a quarter. And so before I ran out, I knew I was going to run out of gas. And so before I ran out of gas, I stopped at a gas station, and I was like, God, dude, I have no money. I maxed my card or whatever to get this education. And the guy was like, there's nothing I can do for you, bro. I was like, what? So I drove my car to a Wawa, and then it was out of gas. And I was like, I don't even know where I'm at. And I forget how I pulled it off, but I was able to contact somebody to come out and get me. But it's just, the story is just crazy. But the driving force behind that is to learn more about this field, of fitness. And, now we've brought that into the gym, and now I'm seeing the reward from that. All that sacrifice and all that hustle, and now I'm seeing all that knowledge being passed to my clients and members and family, really. And when you hear that when I go to the gym, it's the best part of my day, which I just started to hear. I think they said it, they thought it, but now I'm starting to hear it. And then I go home to my wife, Kelly, who's the whole rock behind all of this, and I'm like, we got to keep doing this. And so when this opportunity arose, I was like, we have to jump on it in every way possible.
It's so interesting because even though people often don't say it out loud, I can feel I've been here now for 3 days, and I've pretty much been here for 3 days. And
double workouts, 2 workouts.
It's funny when you're in a place and it's like, oh, I'm at the gym. It's kind of the general energy or attitude. And it's like, oh, I just come because I have to. It's what I do. It's not like that here. People are 15, 20 minutes early, and they're doing their thing, and nobody is dragging their feet. They're here because they want to be here.
Yeah, we have a saying in the gym, if I see you stop moving, then, we're gonna start running. You should never stop moving at Blk Ops. There's always something you can be doing. That means I'm not teaching you enough, And so, it's just been amazing because almost all our community were beginners. And so that took a lot of coaching to get them from beginners to the point where they could kind of come into the gym and be on autopilot, and we always are watching them and everything like that. But if you stop moving in that 10 to 20 minute window while we're in warm-up time,
you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
I know, I'm definitely bad at that because I like talking to people, and I've been the one that's been so tell me about you to your members. And
I go in and out. I get in and out.
Jane, do you know what you're doing for the warm up? I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I'm talking to people.
I was watching you. I was like, okay. But so that's been awesome.
So yesterday I was at Brouhaha. So I went in there for a coffee, and then I was planning on going home, and I went in there and I just loved the vibe. So I ended up staying 6 hours and working. But when I went up to the counter and I was ordering my coffee, I was wearing your BlkOps, I call them jumpers.
Jumpers, I love that term.
Jumper. I don't even know where it came from. I was wearing the jumper.
I think it's an English term. I don't know.
And the girl working there was like, ooh, Blk Ops, I've been meaning to go to that gym. Is that CrossFit? And I find that a really common question with our kind of training methodology. You talked about ski ergs before, and some people listening might be like, what even is a ski erg? And we can definitely talk about that. I can talk about that till I'm blue in the face. But I think that that's a really interesting question about this kind of like I call what we do general physical preparedness, but I'd be really interested to know what you say Blk Ops is. Like, it's not a CrossFit, so what is it?
Right, so Blk Ops has really just been kind of my 10 years of experience in the fitness world. I've done CrossFit before and it was an influence on me. My first USA weightlifting certification was in a CrossFit, and that was my first experience with it in Baltimore. And I walked in, and at the time I was working as a personal trainer, and we were training a lot of student athletes and personal training clients. So it was one-on-one, and that was a good job, and I learned a ton. That was Achieving Physiques, my cousin, shout out, Joe and Nicole. They were the mentors to young Antonio, so thank you. But yeah, so I went into this CrossFit and I saw these pull-up bars, and I'm a Marine, and that's what we do, it's pull-ups, and we do pull-up bars. And so I was like, ooh, and the whole gym was open, and it was rugged and grungy, and I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. Then I sat in the USA weightlifting certification for 6 hours, 8 hours, and I was just like, this is not what I'm about, you know? But I did learn it because it was something. In fact, the funny story is I failed because I didn't know what a clean oar snatch was when I went to that. My cousin and I decided to go, and you'd think they would know that about their student, and no, they fouled me after paying like $600. So, but that didn't stop me, and I think that is actually where I ran out of gas, going to another USA weightlifting certification. So that didn't stop me. Yeah. But yeah, so I saw that grungy feel and the pull-up bars, and so that was an influence. And when I got back home, I was still doing the personal training. I went and signed up at the local CrossFit to see what it was all about, and it was great. You know, I liked that quick fix. Really spoke to me, and going at high intensity and really challenging my body and the extreme version of it. But 2 years into it, my body just couldn't do it anymore, and I had a serious injury. That was from a lifetime of wear and tear through the military and through 2 years of trying to compete locally, push my limits, and I was 32 at the time. So when I was young, I said at 30, I'm not gonna lift heavy anymore. And then I hit 30 and I lifted more than I've ever lifted in my life, you know? And so I didn't have the knowledge yet, I didn't have the coaching, and this is 32 years of improper movement on this body. And now I'm getting into these heavy weights and trying to throw them over my head. And so my body just wasn't able to keep up with it. So 2 years in, I had a really serious back injury. And then it was another year, and that was at the time, so I had to stop CrossFitting. And as much as that hurt, because I really loved it, I tried to go back to it, and I just kept hurting myself. And that was just because my back was not ready for those loads and that intensity. And so there was like 2 years of misdiagnosis, chiropractors. In fact, the first ortho surgeon I saw said, you're never gonna lift weights again. You need to just get a paddleboard and kick. And I'm like, he's like, you can't jump, you can't run. And I'm like, what? Like my whole world went black. Yeah. And he showed me my discs, you know, that were desiccated and the herniations. And he's like, that's your disc for life. And I'm 32, and I'm thinking of kids I don't have and not being able to carry them. And I was just like, it was like a death sentence in a sense. And so a great motivational thing I can tell you about this story is, you know, at that time I went and bought some Rogue equipment, and I was working at an engineering firm at the time, and I bought some Rogue equipment and started training people on my own. I couldn't do CrossFit anymore. I left the personal training job, so I was working at the engineering firm, and I started to train people the way I thought was cool. Yeah. And I had the body of experience with gymnasts, Olympic lifters, CrossFit, strongman. I'd gone tons of certifications. And so I had that body of knowledge, and I started to put that into a program. Anything I saw that I liked. Yeah. And David Durrani was a huge influence on me early on, and he's an Olympic gymnast that I met through CrossFit Gymnastics, and he actually is from Jersey. So when I was at my CrossFit Gymnastics certification, I kind of got closer to him, and I found out what an Olympian is, and they're incredible people. Oh and so I learned a ton from him. And so basically Blk Ops just started to grow through, you know, my own personal journey through studying fitness. What I saw worked, what I didn't like in fitness got cut out. Yeah. You know, what I didn't like in CrossFit got cut out. Yeah. What I didn't like in gymnastics got cut out. And so over time, that's how this began. And so a lot of people come into my gym and they wanted me to, they demand me tell them what Blk Ops is and how it's different than CrossFit. And that story can't be told in words, you know, like you have to come here and experience it for more than a week. Yeah. You have to understand the compassion that is driving it. Yeah. That my body, I was on the floor at 30, and I think I eventually found a sports physical therapist, and he changed my life. And he told me, you're gonna PR your deadlift. And I was like, I'm never gonna deadlift again. Yeah. And he found out the issue was I had a torn hip labrum, which we knew. Yeah. But then my hip flexors were super tight. And that they were pulling on the disc, but that didn't mean you had a weak back. Yeah. It didn't mean that you weren't going to be able to ever move again. Yeah. It meant you had to address these issues and then build up the muscles around the lower back through deadlifts to protect your injured disc, to protect your disc. And I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
You know, this is a life-changing experience through fitness of how I can get back into the game. And so what Blk Ops really is kind of like that journey, you know. I would say 10 years, maybe a whole lifetime of my experiences through pain, through education, through suffering, through running out of gas, through failing courses, you know, and it's that drive that has created this. And we try to, we know that our people have that in them, right? When we work with people, we know, and in the military, especially when I was a drill instructor, I'd be going on mountains and I hadn't had any water and I hadn't had any food. And I always have that thought in my mind of how much people are capable of that they don't realize.
Yeah.
You know, like your body is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's proof in the pudding is how my back has come back and I'm able to do these extreme workouts. I'm able to power clean again. The thought of that when my back hurt would almost sicken me.
Totally.
To think of my back having to do that movement, and I'm able to do it again. But
It's
through
amazing.
therapy and in the stretching and the warming up.
And I think through open-mindedness, and I think that's one of the
Ego-free,
key elements
no ego,
of what you represent and what Blk Ops represents is it's not fixed. It's like as you learn more and evolve more and more people come in and they all have different stories, the methodology here grows and changes.
And it grows, it's organic. And I just told 2 new people that last night. And I'll tell that to people the first day. And I'm like, how can you still ask me how I'm like this or that? I'm like, we will change every day until we never peak.
No, exactly.
There's no ceiling.
One,
There's no,
exactly.
If something works better, you're going to do it the next day.
And that's the coolest thing about, I find, health, fitness, nutrition, all these things. It's like, as we learn more, we do better.
Absolutely.
And it's just, and every single, like you see variations in fitness methodologies, training methodologies, and nutrition and stuffing and things. Because people are actually doing more research all the time.
Absolutely.
And it's like, and nobody knows your own body as well as you do. And I think that there is such a trust in experts to tell us what our body can do.
Medicine,
but it's like, isn't it amazing that you didn't settle for somebody telling you that you're going to be paddling with a kickboard for the rest of your life? Like it's
and I forgot to say this, we were at a family party and I was hanging out with one of my cousins and I sat down next to him and he's an experienced wrestler and he was a hardcore guy and he was like, I was like, yeah, they told me I can't lift again, and I was like, I'm in real pain. I'm not. He knows me. He knows I'm a strong person. That I'm not just gonna. Totally. And I was like, I'm in bad shape, and he's like, they don't know you.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. Like, at the time I was like, no, these guys are telling me, and I'm feeling this. There's no way I can do this. But that line, I was like, they don't know you. Nobody knows you. Nobody knows what you're capable. They don't know your story.
Yeah.
I don't know your story fully.
Yeah.
And so that's super powerful.
Yeah.
And finding out that answer or just running with that is I think what we're really trying to do for our everyone we come in contact with.
Totally. And it's so
it's
funny.
Not about the ski.
Yeah.
It's not about the deadlift. It's not about, it's because we know what you can do and you don't.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I was going to say, that people don't know what they're capable of.
Yeah. And the positive change we can have with that. So
exactly.
So now I want to talk about why we really brought you in here, and that was to host your seminar tomorrow, that we're super honored to have you, and how that carries into the competition in February 9th and 10th of the Ski World Cup.
Yep, so these seminars that I run, Project Row and Project Ski, the ones that I've gotten to travel the world with, I am running one here tomorrow, and I'm so excited because we came up with the idea together, basically, to introduce people to the idea of this World Cup that we're running. And the World Cup is this crazy idea I got on the flight to Europe last year for my seminars. I was watching Harry Potter, and it's like my favorite book, and I love all the movies, and so I thought, why not spend 20 hours watching Harry Potter on the airplane? And I got off the plane and I was like, I'm going to run a World Cup. And so I rang Jake and I was like, babe, let's run a World Cup. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, what actually are you talking about? And I was like, let's get in contact with Concept 2 and let's get them to bring the whole world together on the ski ergs, because it's such an amazing teamwork kind of activity. Let's do it on one weekend. And I had the whole vision in my head, and Jake is the realist out of the two of us. I'm the dreamer and he's the realist. And he goes, it's a really great idea. Let's do it. Yeah. And I was like, wow. Oh my God, this never happens. Yeah, like usually I say something and he's like,
the numbers guy.
Crazy, cool. And so he was super enthusiastic about it. And so we started putting plans into place, and Skitober followed this, and then it was really launching the World Cup. And the idea of the World Cup is to show people, the whole why beneath it all for us is discover your best. Yeah. And that's what it is. It's discover your team, discover your best. And it's showing up, and who cares if you beat some guy in Canada or Tasmania or something. And
I think that's important too for like our members. A lot of them thought they had to be this extreme athlete to do it, and so we have to get that. I have to get that message out there. Like, no, this is gonna be a lot of fun.
And it's kind of like if you look at the CrossFit Open, like you know, every guy and his little sister and their mum are like, you know, a part of it, and not like 99.9% of people entering the CrossFit Open don't do it to win.
Right.
They do it to show themselves what they're capable of. And that's
be a part of that, you know, community.
Totally. And it's,
which is, I think, awesome and genius that they have that.
It really is. It's amazing.
Especially now they do the like state by state thing. I think that's great. Because then you're like, oh, I'm not 8 millionth in the world.
Exactly. And so that was kind of what we were trying to bring people together with on the ski. And so it just makes really good sense to combine seminars with the World Cup, because I'm obsessed with people's technique. I'm way less interested in my times and being fast. Like, I had a world record for 48 hours.
Boom.
And it was really funny. My dad was like, what is this skirg you talk of? And I was like, thanks, Dad. But anyway, someone took the world record off me for 48 hours, and I still haven't had the guts to go for it again. But the World Cup isn't about setting world records. It's about genuinely showing up and doing something that makes you uncomfortable, walking out and knowing that you can do anything. And so for us to run a seminar tomorrow just makes total sense, because it can mean that we can make sure people are moving safely and efficiently. And so when they do actually go at that intensity, they're not going to hurt themselves. Because I think that that's the core for both of us, is we want to bulletproof people.
Absolutely.
We want to bulletproof people's minds and bodies. And so...
And it's our responsibility.
It actually is. So seminar's happening tomorrow, which is going to be amazing. And then World Cup is in 2 weeks. And then who knows what is actually going to be next.
That?
I think there's going to be some cool stuff.
And we've talked about that. We're like, you know, on our first phone call or second phone call, like, we want to do more though. You know, like, what are we going to do more? You know, and my I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen after this, you know, with these connections we've made, because we've made a connection with Forge Performance out in California, and they've been awesome contacting us.
And you've got to become friends with Dennis. He's in
in the Netherlands. Dennis, and I have no clue how to say that name.
I know.
Borgen.
I think it's Beitengun or something.
I'll have to meet him. It's a gym in Netherlands, and it's pretty cool.
I just say it.
Everybody's tall and like jacked and handsome,
so I'm like, they're all very good advocates for
fitness.
Netherlands.
And the Netherlands. Well, awesome. So so the seminar's tomorrow, and it's a huge deal for us. First time we've ever done this, and one of the really cool things is, like, I don't even know who's coming. And we're the host gym, and just today or yesterday, actually, the dentist from across the street, Mike Joffrey, reached out to us and said, hey, what is this thing? I want to do it. And he actually has a ski erg, and I needed to find a ski erg. And so right across the street, someone has a ski erg in a little personal gym upstairs.
This was the funniest thing ever. He's like, my dentist is coming, he's bringing his whole team, and they're bringing their ski erg. And I was like, imagining like a dentist like skiing and then like fixing teeth and skiing, and I was like, I want to go to this dentist.
We always joked at our gym, like, we want like a spray tanner in here and like a teach bleether. We like to create the perfect race. You know? As a joke, making fun of fitness people and how we are. But so it's just been awesome, you know, and I'm excited to see who shows up and like how we welcome them and have that experience, and then go into the competition, inspire a lot of our new athletes, or, you know, and that's my driving force. I want my members to do more than just come here and get fitness. Because yes, that's awesome, and they love it, and that's great, but I just want so much more. And sometimes I won't get it, and that's okay, but like, I'm gonna try everything I can to get that.
Exactly.
Because when you see that, and that energy can change everything. And then someone made a good point to me. I went through a mentorship, and they said people have 3 things. This is the secret sauce. This is the secret sauce. So 3 things: they have family, they have work, and they have one other thing. If you can become that one other thing, that's a huge deal. And so I was like, oh, well, that's way too much. I can't be that other thing. They have other important things in their lives. But then I started to hear that this is the best time of their day. Oh my gosh, my whole day sucks, and then I come here. So my mission, and kind of the reason I've been doing this podcast, is to explore that, you know, to explore what information can we give people? How can we, you know, what ways we can find to help people so that their days don't suck? So that, yes, the gym is the best part of their day, but that they can carry that home to their families, they can carry that home to their businesses, they can carry that home to their work, and as business owners, small business owners, and people who create, that's something I'm really passionate about. And so I'm not creating this podcast for views, and I gotta keep telling myself that. Don't let who's watching this dictate my moves or my mindset, because I believe in what I have to give people, and I know it now. And so that was kind of the jump off the cliff here. You know, I contacted Jet Phoenix Media, Jet and Ferg out in Wilmington. We started this connection together, and now they're gonna be helping me with this. And you know, everything costs money, so it's a gamble, but it's not a gamble because you can always do good. Right? And so...
impact first and profit second.
Yes, absolutely. And this is a business. We have to raise careers out of this.
Yeah.
And so our members are supporting us in this, and we wanted to go further, not for money, but because we have changed lives, and we want that to continue. And we want, this is a great way for us to have that voice and to have that mission. And so Jane was the perfect opportunity. We were talking on Wednesday, and I was like, you've been talking about this podcast, Antonio. You want to do a video?
Yeah.
This is the perfect opportunity to jump off the cliff in 2 days and see if you can pull this together.
Totally.
And you were like, I'm down. Yeah. And I was like, oh, shoot. I'm nervous now. But we talk about it a lot, stepping out of your comfort zone.
And a lot of people say that they walk their talk, in a gym. And I was thinking that this is such an interesting element of your culture, is that you don't have overtrainers here. In so many gyms, the owner is the person that spends the most time working out.
Right.
And they think that that's them walking their talk or leading by example. And it's
right.
Your underlying mission is to get people out of their comfort zone and show them what they're capable of. That doesn't just happen by you spending hours and hours and hours working out. It's that was doing stuff like this.
Absolutely. And so people kind of look at that and oh, he's not working, or he's not at the gym, and it's I don't want to give my classes away. I worked my rear end off to create these personal, delicate relationships where people trusted me with their health, and I've taught them so much, and my biggest driving force is how my people move. Yeah. That they move and that their physiques are changing, and that the majority of our population is fit. That is what really matters to me. 98% of our people are fit, or they just got here, right? And so that's kind of our driving force. And shoot, I forgot what I was about to say.
Sorry, just something about leading by example.
Right, leading by example. And so now I'm taking gambles in 2019. I want to pull myself out of the coaching role and to build up those coaches under me. And they're not under me, they're a team with me. And I have to do new and different things to grow this business, to grow this mission. And this is part of that. And this is kind of what has birthed this podcast. And I'm not a podcaster. I'm not trying to get into that world. I'm not trying to be an influencer on social media. I just feel like influence is wrong and bad right now.
Yeah.
And so if there's anything we can do with guests and messages and value for you, the viewer, we're going to figure it out and present it to you in the best way. And today was jumping off the cliff. And it's a message for you. Some people think everyone's got it figured out. We don't have it figured out. No. We're just as scared and nervous as you are. We have the same anxieties. We have the same fears. I have a baby due in 2 days.
I know, which is
actually or tonight.
Thing.
But it's a blessing. And I have 2 other sons, and I have to be an example as a young father now. I have a message I can give to people that your life doesn't end when you have children. Fitness doesn't end when you have children. You can still be put together. You can still be pushing it and create. And so if we're sitting on that, we have to share that. We have to spread that. And it's a lot of times I think fitness people can just be the butt shot on Instagram, or the meathead. And my mom thought I was a WWF wrestler.
Oh my God.
She thought I was a greased up guy in the ring. And I'm like, what? But whatever.
That is so funny.
And I'm the youngest of 6, and that has a lot of impact on me, and you'll find that out the more I do these, is that as much as I try to hide that, being the youngest and trying to live up to their example, it has a huge impact on me. So that's the mission behind this, and we hope you enjoy it. So Jane, I really want to thank you for coming here, for reaching out to us in the first place, for showing us that love. That really means a lot to me. You were the first person to do that, so that we'll always have that together.
Definitely.
Blk Ops and Jane, and Jake. Don't forget Jake.
Yeah.
We're still involved. We're not trying to steal her. But yeah, so I really want to thank you. We're honored to have you. I'm super excited about the seminar. And where can people find you if they want to learn out more about you?
So thank you so much for having me as well. I've honestly made myself very at home these last few days, and I love it here. And we were very, very close to Jake getting on a plane yesterday to come here, because I'd been talking about how much I love it here.
And that was my main anxiety, how you would take it,
It's hilarious. I love that you were worried about it. I honestly have been happy since the moment I walked in. The first thing I saw was the graffiti on that garage door, and I was like, oh my God, I found my place. Right. And it's just fantastic. But so basically you can find me the most updated place you can find anything that's going on in my life, whether it's my 7 chickens and 3 dogs.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Life, yeah.
I heard about the chickens.
They
but I know
all
there
have
were
names
7.
as well. The survivor chicken is Hermione, so obviously you can tell I'm a big geek over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the chickens lay eggs every day, so I have I think that I live on a farm, but I don't. But basically, apart from finding me with my chickens and dogs, you can find me on Instagram. So it's just my name, which is jane.erbacher. And when I spell Erbacher with my Australian accent to Americans, they think I've just said a bunch of times.
Do you want me to spell it for you?
Yeah.
Oh shoot, I'm not going to spell it right. Erbacher.
That's it.
There you go.
Yeah. And then my website is janeerbacher.com, or projectskiworldcup.com. So that's everything.
And that's how you sign up
about
too.
Me. Yeah.
Well, awesome. And you guys know the story with us, Blk Ops Fitness. That's abbreviated BlkOpsFitness.com, and you can find us on Instagram at BlkOpsFitness. But yeah, so that's a wrap. I really appreciate it,
Yes.
and look forward to the future with you.
And what are you going to talk about next week?
Next week, I think it might be next month, but I think very important, we're gonna go on nutrition. So we'll find an expert in the field and start talking about what you guys are eating at home and try to bring you some value to that. So stay tuned, guys.